Dragon's Dogma 2 just isn't that big. Now, we can analyze this pretty objectively because obviously there is a component of how much do you want to go off the beaten path and explore. That's going to give some players a varying degree of playtime. So if you're someone like me who just ran the main missions with a handful of sprinkling of side missions in your first playthrough, that's 25 to 30 hours of gameplay. It's undisputed fact. There are in Dragon's Dogma 2, there are 18 primary missions that are part of the main storyline, starting with the Gawaled Awakening all the way down to Legacy. Then if you look at side quests, there's around, and it just depends because there are still things that are being uncovered, but as of this recording, there are around 40 side quests in the game that have been discovered to date. That gives us a total of 60 quests. Just the length of the main storyline quests is about 25 to 30 hours, and it's about another 25 to 30 hours to do all of the side quests that have been found in the game so far, with the average I did everything in the game storyline-wise coming out to around 60 hours of gameplay. These are not numbers that I'm making up. You can find this, just Google it. It's at your leisure. I mean, this is stuff that's very easy to come across and to find out there. It's people have been reporting their playthroughs since they started. So 30 hours for a quick run and 60 hours for a completionist run. But then there are the people that are just choosing to go out there and ignore the quests entirely and live the life of an adventurer, going cave to cave, waterfall to waterfall, wandering the roads looking for random encounters, hoping and praying for more endless arrays of harpies and dragons and minotaurs and cyclops and you name all the trash mobs that get really boring to fight after you've done it 50 different times. The reality is the game is not as big as some people have claimed it is. We've seen some people saying, oh, this is a game that's got hundreds of hours of entertainment. If you're the type of person who likes to rinse and repeat the same content over and over and over and just go out there and grind the mobs as they respawn, sure. But if you're talking sheer quests, just the amount of quest content in the game, there's around 60 hours, and that is not up for debate. That is an objective number that's out there. That's not me making something up. It's the number of quests in the game, and it's the amount of time that it takes to complete those quests. Now, by comparison, you have games like, say, Starfield, which has arguably, I think the last time anybody did anything, there was around 300 quests in between main story missions, side missions, and side quests. But that number is, again, not set in stone. You know, it could be more, it could be a little less, but around 300. We look at Cyberpunk 2077. Just in the base game, you were looking at around 300, and then they added all of the main quests and everything else in Phantom Liberty, which added even more. Then you get to Baldur's Gate 3, and Baldur's Gate 3 is a game where that's another really hard one to lock down. But essentially, you're looking at several hundred quests for Baldur's Gate 3 as well. So when we start taking a look at those games, you know, as an example, in Starfield, I did 350 hours in my first playthrough. Baldur's Gate 3, 115 hours in my first playthrough. Cyberpunk 2077 was a 60-hour playthrough the first time I went through because I did it on the PS4 back when it was a buggy hot mess. When I came back and did the Phantom Liberty DLC with the 2.0 upgrade on my Xbox Series X, and it was a flawless experience, it was 150 hours of just, and I finished without doing a completionist version. Like, I still had a ton of missions and side quests that I could have cleared in Cyberpunk 2077. So when I start looking at all of these other amazing RPGs that I've played over the last 6 months, Dragon's Dogma 2 just pales in comparison in terms of size. Now, what Dragon's Dogma does very good is the action combat. The action combat, without a doubt, it's pretty amazing. And wandering the roads and hearing like an ogre off somewhere in the woods close by and the camera starts to shake, that's pretty impressive. When you go out and, you know, you were fighting, I think it's the minotaurs that, like, I can't remember which ones are the ones that hang on the walls and jump down on your party. That's cool. And nothing would have prepared me for traversing those, the wooden platforms that you can use to fast travel in Batal, and seeing and hearing first. I heard the griffin cry, turned to look where it was, and all of a sudden you see this this griffin dive bombing towards your platform. He hit it and he blew it up, and all of our party fell to their death. Like, there are moments in Dragon's Dogma 2 that make that exploring of the world pretty impressive for those of you who want to do that. But at some point, you're going to be fighting the same mobs over and over and over and over and over. And I get it. For some people, that's fun, but that's not the average ordinary gamer who wants to come in and play quests and get the RPG experience. Now, if you're a fan of action-based combat, you're probably going to love the combat and you're okay with the repetitive nature of it and the endless grinding of mobs and wandering pathways and caves and everything else. But a lot of players, myself included, we're here for quests. We're here to, what is the story that you're telling us, Capcom? What is the story that we're meant to take away from this game? What are the missions? What are the side quests? What is the main storyline? What are the side quests? Are any of those side quests memorable or not? There are things, I still get people, and it's been 6 months since I played the game, but I still get people popping out of the woodwork and going, oh my god, that Renfail fight in Baldur's Gate 3 was so amazing. That whole storyline, Renfail's singing and Hope in the background with her vocals, and the whole, just watching Renfail's journey from the beginning of the game to the end of the game and finding out who he is with the House of Hope and everything else, and how he's kind of behind a lot of different things in the game. That's a major story arc that takes place across many, many different quests and many, many different storylines. And when you look at that compared to what's on display with Dragon's Dogma 2, this is when we say, hang on a second. It's a good game, don't get me wrong, but it's not a big game. Dragon's Dogma 2 is not that big. It does pale in comparison when you start looking at all of these other big RPGs. I'm playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth right now. I started playing that before Dragon's Dogma 2, took a break, finished Dragon's Dogma 2, and now I'm back to sort of maining that one with Ghost of Tsushima, which I've never played before. I'm doing a first-time playthrough of Ghost of Tsushima. And already in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I've already in just I think I'm up to session 10, and I've already seen more and done more than Dragon's Dogma 2 had to offer out of the gate between the main quests and the side quests. Now, granted, I chose willingly to not spend my time roaming the pathways and out and the endless combat that you can have, because that's not fun for me. And I realize that that's a personal preference. But objectively speaking, this is not a subjective opinion here. Objectively speaking, 60 side quests versus 250, 300, 350 quests in total. Quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. By the way, I didn't mean to say side quests. I meant 60 quests in total, more or less, for Dragon's Dogma 2 compared to the 200 plus, 250 plus, 300 plus that many other RPGs offer. You just can't compare the two, objectively speaking. It's not that big. Now, other people will say, well, what about Elden Ring? Again, Elden Ring was more about the action combat as opposed to the quests. And Elden Ring did a very good job of, granted, there were quests, but it was mostly about open exploration, open world, the boss mobs and everything else, which is kind of what they're going for here. But when they touted the map being 4 times as big as the first game, I went into this expecting a 300-hour sprawling epic RPG. Not really. I was expecting like a 60 to 80-hour RPG, which is kind of what's there if you do everything in its totality. But with no markers to denotate, what is the main quest versus the side quest, it's very easy to do what I did, which is beeline through the main game on your first playthrough and wind up at 30 hours and finish it. And then you go into New Game Plus going, well, at the very least in New Game Plus, I can see all the side quests that I missed. I can go explore the caves that I missed. I can try out some of the vocations that I missed, and I can do all that stuff at my own time. But I've already finished my main playthrough, and so the game is essentially kind of over for me. And now I'm just sort of picking up the crumbs and filling in the things that I want to see that I still haven't got to see yet. So again, this doesn't take away from the fact that it's a good game that could be a great game, but it's not that big. It's not nearly as big as people are making it out to be. It is a decent sized game. Any game that can get me to 30 hours of gameplay gets a tip of the hat because you've at least gotten me to 30 hours of gameplay. So I will give Dragon Dogma 2 a tip of the hat for that. But it's not Starfield, it's not Cyberpunk, it's not Baldur's Gate 3, it's not Ghost of Tsushima, it's not Red Dead Redemption 2, it's not Witcher 3, it's not any of these huge sprawling action RPGs, which those aren't quite action RPGs, but they do have action. The big RPGs, right? Like narrative RPGs that give us hundreds of hours of storylines and gameplay and hundreds of quests. This ain't it. Not to say it's not a good game, but that was the discussion point for today. I don't know, rambling thoughts. It provokes conversation, and that's what we're here for. That's how I make a living. So if you like this kind of stuff, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Because I do lots of fun, provoking, controversial topics around lots of different games. And plus, we just play games, and we do TV shows and movie reviews and all that stuff. So check the playlists. I'll see everybody in the next one. Stay safe. Happy gaming.